Benzinger and a development team led by Walter Tresser slapped a two-door Audi 80 body on one of those four-wheel drive Iltis drivetrains to show off what it could do. They took the mule and a bunch of Audi execs to the snow and ice-covered Taracher Hoha Pass in Austria in January. There's a lot of words that I don't know how to pronounce in this episode. There's a lot of letters that I don't even recognize. I just want you guys to know that I'm trying my best.
I'm glad that he acknowledged it. It was distracting.
The prototype's impressive performance in the 30-degree grades convinced the head honchos to approve production of the new all-wheel drive car. But no one actually thought it was going to be a big seller. The fact that Audi put its engines ahead of the front axle made them perfect candidates for all-wheel drive conversion therapy. The power could easily be sent straight from the back of the transmission to the rear wheels. But they still had to figure out how to get power to the front wheels too. Just making a car all-wheel drive stuff is hard. Two transmission experts on Benzinger's team, Hans Nebedek and Franz Tengler, came up with an idea. They could make the transmission output shaft hollow and run another shaft straight through the middle of it to drive the front wheels. It was a super smart solution that was perfect for a sports car. Enter the Audi Quattro, power 204. The Audi Quattro debuted as the company's first all-wheel drive car at the Geneva Motor Show in March of 1980. It wasn't gonna be cheap, and the company didn't think they'd sell many, but at the press conference, Peach passionately announced that it was the start of something big. Today sees the premiere of all-wheel drive for the road-going passenger car. That's a lot of emotion coming from a German. The hatchback coupe had chiseled fender flares, independent suspension, a 5-speed transmission, and a turbocharged 2.1-liter 5-cylinder engine making 200 horsepower. In 1980, the new Quattro did 0 to 60 in a not-so-shabby 7 seconds. Drivers could take advantage of the all-wheel drive system, which they also called Quattro. Peach was right. People wanted all-wheel drive for the road-going passenger car. Millions and millions of Audis have been sold with Quattro all-wheel drive. So fans now refer to the car as the Quattro to differentiate it from the drivetrain. The means original in German. In reality, the Quattro was actually just a parts bin special. It was built on an Audi 80 floor pan. It was full of Mark I Volkswagen Golf components, and it had the now infamous inline 5 engine out of an Audi 200.
What makes this new car so special here, PH? It has a 5-cylinder engine. A what?
But it was a special parts bin special. Every Quattro was hand-built with real human hands. Audi had a special team of 20 people working 8 hours a day. Each car took 1 week to build, and only 3 came out of the factory each day. Peach wanted to go racing right away, and Audi quickly formed a new factory race team called Audi Sport. They took a race-prepped Quattro to several WRC rallies. It was the first ever rally car to have a turbo, 300 horsepower, and most importantly, that holy grail of traction. All-wheel drive, my babies. All-wheel drive. It didn't need the FIA's homologation rules because Audi hadn't sold 400 of them yet, but it was allowed to run anyway as a non-competitive entry. You know, just for funds. Development driver Hannu Mikkola would have won the Algarve rally by over half an hour if the Quattro had been eligible. So things already look pretty good for Audi Sport in the upcoming year.
You think so?
Critics thought the all-wheel drive Quattro was too heavy and mechanically complex to be successful in a rally, but they quickly ate crow, just like me in a crow eating festival at the fair last year. In 1981, Audi Sport officially entered 2 cars in 8 WRC events and won 3 of them. Mikkola drove 1 Quattro in its first victory at the Swedish Rally, which was only its second event. Michelle Mouton drove the other car to win a rally at San Remo, becoming the first woman ever to win a WRC event. Nice job, Michelle! Stig Blom, you guys are all named after dragons. Stig Blomqvist joined the team in '82, and Michelle led the team to second, third, and fourth places in the Drivers' Championship. They also helped Audi win its first Manufacturers' Championship title. The next year was the start of the infamous WRC Group B era, when they dropped almost all of the restrictions on how the cars could be built. Because, I don't know, everyone went crazy. Audi dominated the series with the Quattro A1 and A2, and Mikkola won the Drivers' Championship. They slayed the competition again in 1984, with Blomqvist winning the Drivers' title and Audi scoring their second Manufacturers' title. By the time 1985 rolled around, sales of the production Quattro Coupe had exceeded expectations. So Audi put Quattro all-wheel drive in every other model they had for sale. Meanwhile, horsepower wars were raging over in WRC's Group B, and Audi wasn't about to be left out. They made a homologation run of 224 new production Sport Quattro S1 models that cost more than 200,000 German marks. That's 4 times more expensive than the regular Quattro. It's a Quattro that costs Quattro a Quattro. It got a huge turbo, Kevlar reinforced body panels, and 12.6 inches chopped off the wheelbase to make it more maneuverable on the rally stages. Colby, roll that sweet, sweet Group B footage. The stubby little production cars made around 300 horsepower, while the rally versions were pushing 450, baby, just like me on chest day. But serious crashes started happening in Group B, and Audi started to question their commitment to the factory team unless changes were made for better safety. They pulled back a little, and the Quattro's glory faded some in the '85 WRC season. They only won at 1 rally, but Blomqvist and Walter Roll, yeah, I got it? Still managed to come up in second and third in the Drivers' Championship. And Michelle Mouton impressively won the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb with a time 13 seconds faster than the previous record. By 1986, the Rally Sport Quattro was making 500 horsepower and sprouted a huge rear wing and front splitter for more downforce. A recirculating air system was added to help keep the turbo constantly spooled and provide quicker throttle response. The car slimmed down to 2,400 pounds, and it could do 0 to 60 in an insane 3.1 seconds. A few of the race versions also got a new power shift gearbox, which was an early version of a direct shift gearbox, kind of like Volkswagen's modern DSG. Hey, hit that subscribe button if you want Bart to do a science garage on DSG so we can all know how it works. The Sport Quattro S1, driven by Bobby Unser, won the '86 Pikes Peak International Hill Climb with a record time yet again. But over in WRC, everyone's worst fears were being realized. Separate crashes by Group B cars killed several spectators. It was quickly announced that the fan-favorite Group B cars, including the Audi, would be banned next year. Not wanting to tempt fate, Audi pulled its factory teams out of the rest of that year's WRC rallies. That's like honorable, man. Because like, racing's cool and all, but life's cooler. They returned to WRC Rally in 1987 and got on the podium a few times, but never had the same success there again. The fire-breathing Sport Quattro wasn't banned from Pikes Peak, though. Walter Roll took a 600 horsepower S1 to Audi's 3rd consecutive record-breaking win there, beating Unser's previous time by 22 seconds. After that, Audi focused more on building all-wheel drive production cars instead of racing ones. While all that sick rally stuff was going on, Audi had launched the Quattro in North America. It went on sale in 1983 with a few changes to comply with American safety and emission standards. It had bigger impact bumpers, a catalytic converter, and lower turbo boost to the tune of only 160 horsepower. You know, the usual crap where America never gets the cool stuff. Over the next 3 years, Audi sold just 664 Quattros. Just too shy of the most metal number. Audi pulled the Quattro out of North America in 1987. Back in the European market, production Quattros were getting updates like ABS, wider wheels and tires, better handling, and more power! After a couple years of the 2.1 liter engine, Audi bumped the engine size to 2.2 liter called the MB. And when the sports Quattro version got 20 valves instead of 10, Audi passed that down to the regular production model too. The 20 valve engine was called the RR, and it made 220 horsepower. It was good for a 6-second 0 to 60. Even better, the manually locking center differential was replaced with an automatically locking Torsen differential in 1987. But aside from changing the grille and headlights, the badges, and a few other little things, the boxy hatchback looked almost the same for its entire production from 1980 to 1991. And fewer than 12,000 Quattros were sold over those 11 years. At the 1991 Frankfurt Auto Show, Audi teased the world with a mid-engine 2.8 liter V6 Quattro Spider concept. It's been all but forgotten now, but at the time, the super sleek concept attracted a ton of attention. But unfortunately, the economy was looking bleak, and Audi didn't think they'd sell enough to justify the cost of developing it. Maybe it wasn't the right time for a new mid-engine sports car right then, but it was the start of an idea that led them to eventually give us the incredible Audi R8. Even though the Quattro is gone, don't despair, because its performance-driven all-wheel drive soul lives on in every Audi built today. Yo, thanks for watching Up to Speed. We make videos every day to make sure you don't miss any. Hit that subscribe button. What other cars do you want us to cover? What other engines? What other people? Let us know in the comment. Before Mazda made Miatas and manufactured the Millennia, they raced mercurial mechanicals and motorsports and made many melancholy trips to the magnificent 24 hours of Le Mans. What started out as a tiny race team ended up becoming a high-performance brand itself. This is everything you need to know to get up to speed on Mazda Speed. The year was 1967, and Mazda had just started selling the Cosmo. No, not Timmy Turner's fairy godfather. The new car, the two-door sports coupe with the newfangled rotary engine, the 10A COS. When the Cosmo arrived at Mazda Auto Tokyo, Japan's largest Mazda dealer, one employee in particular took notice. That employee was former race car driver Takeyoshi Ohashi. Ohashi saw potential in the weird space-agey Cosmo and talked the dealership into letting him start an independent race team called Mazda Sports Corner. Mazda had been doing pretty well at races all around Asia, and they were eager to prove the reliability of their Wankel rotary engine to everyone else. Instead of using pistons that go up and down, rotary engines use spinning metal Doritos called rotors to compress air and fuel inside of an oval housing. With the factory's help, in 1968, the Mazda Sports Corner team entered 2 Cosmos in the 84-hour-long Marathon de la Route. You heard me, 84 straight friggin' hours of racing around the frickin' Nürburgring. Talk about jumping right into the fire. The Cosmo race cars would be mostly stock with only small changes like an extended wheelbase for stability, power brakes, and a larger grille opening for cooling. Mazda put powertrain engineers Kunio Matsuura and Takaharu Kobayakawa on the project to bump up the power for the Mazda Sports Corner team. They gave the 10A rotary engine and aluminum housing to save weight, and modified the intake to make an extra 20 ponies for a total of 130 horsepower. To everyone's surprise, by the 80th hour, the Mazdas were running in 4th and 5th, behind a pair of Porsche 911s and a Lancia Fulvia. One Cosmo crashed out, but the other finished just off the podium in 4th. That is an astounding result for a totally new car with a totally new engine in an insanely tough endurance race. Mazda immediately saw that the Mazda Sports Corner could help them not only get more brand recognition out in the world, but also help develop their production cars. They used what they learned in pre-race testing to make improvements to the 1968 Cosmo street cars. Plus, everyone was so stoked with the results of their first race that they couldn't wait to go back for more. Mazda helped the Mazda Sports Corner team race everywhere throughout the 70s. At home in Japan, in Europe at the 24 Hours of Le Mans and 24 Hours of Spa, and in the US at the 24 Hours of Daytona and the 12 Hours of Sebring. When Mazda launched new models, Mazda Sports Corner raced them. In 1978, the Mazda RX-7 took the racing world by storm. In America, they dominated the International Motorsports Association Series, IMSA, where the RX-7s would rack up a total 100 wins over the next 12 years. On the whole, the Mazdas did great, but where they kept falling short was at the prestigious 24 Hours of Le Mans. Like Nolan eyeing a tall glass of milk, Ohashi and Mazda both focused on Le Mans and became even more determined to conquer the beast. Mazda bought a majority of stock in the little race business, and Ohashi changed the name from Mazda Sports Corner to Mazda Speed, the name of the episode, in 1982. Finally, the team had a promising breakthrough when their RX-7 254i came in 14th at that year's 24 Hour of Le Mans. As Suki and I know all too well, long-distance relationships are hard to keep going. So Mazda asked Ohashi and Mazda Speed to move in with them at their headquarters in Hiroshima in 1983. They were about to get seriously serious about winning Le Mans together. When the FIA announced the new race classes and Mazda Speed took the opportunity to switch from production-based cars to racier Group C sports prototypes. Group C was one of the gnarliest road racing classes ever. These things were fire-spitting, eardrum-shattering monsters that weighed nothing and were fast as heck.
Whoops, and somebody else has a tire blow on the main straight. This time it's Haseli, the Japanese, from the works this end. Whoops, my goodness me.
The rotary-powered 717C, 727C, and 737C prototypes they raced for the next few years did pretty okay, but Nissan and Toyota were starting to use turbo V6s, and it soon became obvious that Mazda was going to need more power than their little two-rotor 13B Wankel could make. Even though Mazda had been working with Ohashi's team for years, the extent of their factory support was really only two guys working full-time on race engines. Nobuhiro Yamamoto and Junichi Funamoto sat down with their boss, Noriyuki Kurio, and decided what they needed was another rotary, but the idea wasn't officially approved. So they had to work on it in secret after normal work hours. Kind of like my dad worked in secret on his other two families. The secret three-rotor engine became not so secret to Mazda execs, and they gave it the official green light the next year. It's like, guys, just tell the truth out of the box and normally it'll work out. Smash that like button if you hate secrets. Subscribe if you have some. Soon they had a new 13G rotary making 450 horsepower at 9,000 RPM, ready to go. Over the next few years, they had some better results and class wins running the 13G in the 757 prototype, but still no overall wins. Man, this winning at Le Mans thing is hard. What was the Zoom Zoomy car company do? Add another wheel? No! You add another rotor. A 500 horsepower, 4-rotor, 13J engine went into the next generation Mazda 767 prototypes in 1988. The very next year, they pumped the 13J M engine up to 630 horsepower, but it still wasn't enough power. With Mazda senior exec Yasuo Tatsutomi watching from the stands, the 767s came in 7th, 9th, and 12th at the 1989 24 Hours of Le Mans. Those finishes clinched Mazda the IMSA GTP class title, an impressive feat for any team, but Tatsutomi still wasn't satisfied. He asked the Mazda Speed team what they needed to win, and veteran driver Pierre Dodon flat out said,
Another wheel?
no, he said 100 more horsepower.
I'm sorry.
No need to be sorry, just like shoot. With a mandate from above, Mazda's now 8-man race engine team built one of the most glorious screaming Banshees since the Odyssey. The loudest Banshees since Halo. I wanted to make a reference to Homer's The Odyssey, but my crew said, no, let's make a Halo reference because they'll like that. The 4-rotor R26B Wankel. At full whale, the engine made an incredible 930 horsepower and had a 10,300 RPM redline. That's with only a 2.6-liter displacement. But in a 24-hour race, things gotta be reliable. So in race tune, the engine only made 700 horsepower. It wasn't quite 100 more ponies that Tatsutomi ordered, but the engine was smaller, lighter, and more efficient than the previous 13JM. Oh, and it made some of the most incredible noises to ever come out of a car. Listen to this clip. Now this is pod racing! Mazda Speed excitedly entered 2 787s at Le Mans in 1990, but heartbreakingly, neither one crossed the finish line. They got knocked down, but in true tub-thumping fashion, they got up again. They made the chassis stiffer, improved the engine's power band and reliability, and added carbon brake discs, a first in Le Mans competition. Mazda Speed went into the 1991 24 Hours of Le Mans with 2 updated 787Bs and 1 787 from the previous season. It would be the last year they were allowed to enter their signature rotary engine. It was announced that the following year's rules were going to change their class and mandate 3.5-liter engines like F1 cars had. All of Mazda's racing hopes and dreams, hashtag hope dreams, were riding on 3 cars. They knew they had reliability on their side, so the team told the drivers of the fastest 787B, the orange and green number 55 car, to push hard at the very beginning. After 6 hours, Mazda Speed was in 4th place behind 3 Benzes. And after 12 hours, the Benzes, they started to the braking. The car is broken. It does not feel right when I drive it. Can we take it to the dealership? No, we can't afford it. We should have bought the Honda. No, you said you didn't want the Honda. It's just not a status symbol. We'll have to take an Uber to finish the race. I have a Lyft credit. No, I want to use Uber. The number 55 stayed quick and consistent, and with 2 hours left to go, it snagged the lead and never gave up. Almost 20 years of dedication finally paid off. I know what that feels like. Mazda became the only Japanese automaker to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans, a title they would hold for 27 years. That calls for some fighting! Since the FIA banned the rotary in 1992, Mazda Speed turned their attention towards supporting grassroots motorsports instead of pro racing. Mazda RX-7s and Miatas were crawling all over racetracks, and Mazda Speed jumped in to develop and sell go-fast parts for race cars. In 1999, Mazda took their relationship with Mazda Speed to the next level and bought them out completely. They kept slanging motorsports stuff, but fast Mazdas had been absent from the production lineup for a while. Finally, a couple of board engineers at Mazda R&D in Southern California decided it was time to crank things up a notch, and they started working on making speedier versions of the Mazda models. Their first idea was to take the popular but underpowered Protégé MP3, one of the best handling front-wheel drive cars ever, and slap a turbo on it. The 2003 Mazda Protege had the same rad racing beat suspension setup as the MP3, but made a much more entertaining 170 horsepower from the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, with a unique front air dam, rear wing, and Racing Heart wheels. Racing Heart wheels were in the early 2000s. They made the wheels that were on the Fast and Furious Supra. Yeah, you like that, you pervy little weirdos? Some of you guys were over there like cleaning your koi pond and you heard, huh? Supra? Some of you were watching One Punch Man and you're like, huh? Did I hear the word Supra? But the Protege was a dying platform, and the first Mazda Speed model disappeared just 1 year later. A Mazda Speed MX-5 Miata was ready to take its place in 2004. Ever since the 1990 Miata came out, enthusiasts cried over more power. Well, they finally got it in the form of a turbocharged 1.8 liter 4, making 178 ponies. It had a 6-speed manual, an LSD, stiffer springs and sway bars, Bilstein shocks, 17-inch wheels, and wider tires. It pulled 0.98 Gs on the skid pad, and all for only $900 more than a regular non-turbo Miata. You can't even buy a turbo kit for that. As good as that sounds, the Mazda Speed Miata was dead after just 2 years. In 2005, the new Mazda Speed 6 got not only a turbocharged 2.3-liter 4-banger and 274 horsepower, it got active torque split all-wheel drive. But unlike the Mazda Speed Protege, the Speed 6 was a high-performance sedan for grown-ups. It had an understated trunk spoiler and a hidden intercooler, perfect for speed-loving adults who wanted to fly under the radar. But there wasn't really a market for a mid-sized sedan that wasn't sweet for commuting or hitting the track. So the Mazda Speed 6 was also left behind after just 2 years.
What about the Mazda 3?
I'm getting to it, buddy. Just sit tight.
I'm just excited, I said.
It had been a huge seller since it came out in 2003. Maybe they could turbocharge one of those too. It's a great question. The 2006 Mazda Speed 3 came out with the same engine the Speed 6 had and put out 263 horsepower. Aimed straight at the VW GTI, the Speed 3 was a rather tame-looking hot hatch. But it would rip the steering wheel right out of your hands if you weren't careful with it. Bigger wheels, different bumpers, and the rear spoiler were about all that gave away the fact that you were driving a Mazda 3 with bite. An LSD and sports suspension together with all that power in a lightweight practical hatchback made the Mazda Speed 3 their first real blockbuster. In 2010, the smiley new second-gen Mazda Speed 3 kept the momentum going. Now it had a hood scoop for better airflow to the intercooler and a bigger mouth for looking happier while it pinned you to your seat. The tuning was tweaked, the interior got a little more refined, and it put on a few pounds too. But none of that changed the Speed 3's life of the party personality, and for around 25,000 bones, it was a hell of a good deal. People bought them up until Mazda put the turbo in hibernation. The third-gen 2014 Mazda 3 launched without a Mazda Speed model, and the name is dormant now. But here's hoping it'll be back when the fourth gen comes out in 2019. Big announcement, we are launching a ton of new merch, new shirts, new hoodies, new hats, stickers, a lighter, a lanyard, tons of new stuff just in time for the holidays. That perfect gift for a donut fan. I want to be totally upfront with you guys. It's currently being printed, and while it won't ship immediately, I promise you that it will be there by Christmas. This is Hans. Hans is in charge of our merch. If your stuff doesn't make it there by Christmas, you can kick Hans in the face. We've never had this amount of stuff before. I'm really, really excited about it. Some really cool pieces, really high quality stuff. Please order it. Shop.donut.media or donutmedia.com.